Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Orena Lifechild Invitational. We have ourselves a cracker of a match. Total Ownage Entity and eAe Hype. Both teams are trying to make it to the playoff stages. We're currently in the third stages of the group stages, and eAe Hype are sitting at 1-1. I'm not entirely sure what Total Ownage is sitting at, but they did lose their previous matchup, so both teams are looking to score their last set of points and get through to the next round. The Orena Lifechild Invitational has a decent prize pool, sitting at 75k, split between their Dota 2 and their CSGO competition. And follow it on orena.co.za. But nonetheless, I'm your host Saint D from eAe Gaming, joined by Insanity. How are you doing, good sir?
Good as always. Just a little thing there. As far as I know, I do stand under correction. I think Entity has lost both their games, so this is more a game of pride, whereas Hype is needing to win this just to stay in the running, you know. Hype now sitting at 1 win, 1 loss, so I think, if I'm not mistaken, that is how the score right now. The scores haven't been updated, but I'm pretty sure that is where it's at right now.
Okay, then essentially eAe Hype, their roadblock is Total Ownage Entity, and Entity will be wanting to go out with a bang, but we're already underway in the picks and bans, and I look at the bans, and I just think right now it's starting to look like a comfort thing more so than anything else, harking back to the 6.81 days, because you look at the Brewmaster, the Razor, the Tidehunter, and the ban of the Faceless Void. That's 6.81 in a nutshell. They don't want to deal with the control. Both teams don't want to deal with the control in terms of eAe Hype. They don't want to deal with Ravage. They don't want to deal with Chronosphere. But on the flip side, the control coming out from the Brewmaster is a force to be reckoned with. And right now in the current patch, he actually does very well as a hard damage dealing core.
10 seconds remaining.
And Razor, obviously you don't want to deal with that hero in terms of what he gives you in his flexibility. But they get the Viper coming out from Total Ownage. I don't think he was nerfed too hard, so he's still a very viable pick. And eAe Hype going for the flavor of the month, Ogre Magi, the flavor of 6.82, and they pick up a Pugna. So they do have pushing capability. They do have what is essentially something that's going to dissuade Entity from actually trying to teamfight in terms of the Nether Ward and the Life Drain, the Pugna Blast. That's just the amount of obnoxious skills coming out from the Pugna. Definitely going to be something that Entity needs to worry about. But I look at Entity, they pick up the Bane. Now, picking up the Bane without picking up its partner just yet may just goad eAe Hype into banning out one of its partners, and they ban out the Mirana.
Which they do.
Yep.
They straight away ban out the Mirana. They see a Bane. It's, you know, even though it's been done so many times, it's something that no team really wants to go up against. I just want to make points on that Ogre Magi. You see him in every game now, and it's really understandable why though. I mean, what more can you want in the support? He's got a damage over time which stops blinking. He's got stuns and potentially 2 stuns. He's got a buff for your carry. What more could you want in a support?
Yeah,
and he's tanky. He's very tanky.
He is quite tanky. That the change to his health regen, that was huge. And then as we mentioned, he's quite tanky. In the previous patch, one would have argued he was one of the more inconsequential heroes, in the sense that as good as an Ogre Magi is in a game, games didn't hinge on him. But right now in the current patch, as he is the flavor of the month for a reason. I mean, I've seen for the most part in most games that you see an Ogre Magi, his multicast it hits more than it doesn't hit. So that's also something I don't know if Valve needs to look at that. But nonetheless, that is the case right now.
Pseudo-random.
That's pseudo-random. Pseudo-random. The Doom gets banned out. Now, Doom is no longer the Bat Rider that he was in the previous patch. I mean, in the previous patch, every single game, you saw him either getting banned or picked up in the first phase. But this time, he makes it through to the second round, which he actually does get banned in. And I think it's down to the nerf that he got onto the Doom. I mean, the biggest thing was the fact that it would disable passives without Ags, and that was pretty broken. So now he's not that big of a factor, but he still warrants bans depending on what your lineup is going for. But eAe Hype banning out a very interesting hero, and I think it's down to what they saw in the previous game, although it wasn't Entity that had that was actually using the Omni Knight. It was actually their opponents. But now they get the Centaur Warrunner, so now they have a very decent lane in they have a very decent lane in the sense that the Ogre Magi will be providing sustainability. He'll be providing a buff for your carry. He'll be providing a disable. And the Pugna, I'm not entirely sure if they're going to be going for a support Pugna or if they're going to be going for a core. That is yet to be seen. But the Centaur Warrior is great in the sense that they have great disengage. They have an easy way to get in without much reprisal from Entity. And Entity, what they don't have right now is a great team fight combination of heroes. I mean, they have the Shadow Shaman, who has a great array of disables. They have the Bane Elemental, who also has his own disables. I mean, he has a Fiend's Creep, he has the Nightmare. But unfortunately, in the sense of team fights, eAe Hype kind of have what you a very stable lineup, and they pick up the Terrorblader, which means they're not afraid to go for the late game. But the Wraith King, I think the Wraith King is more so to combo up with that Bane Elemental, but with the Wraith King being picked up, it certainly looks like Wraith King will be a core because the Shadow Shaman is already in the game.
Radiant team pick.
You know what we're not actually thinking about?
Yep.
Have you ever thought of a Decrepify multicast?
Oh no. Oh no, you're scary.
Because I mean that's already with Decrepify doing 360 damage for one stun. Now if he gets the multicast, that is a hell of a lot of damage. I was just thinking that as a thought. I wanted to mention before they picked up so quickly, Omni is another one that I see more and more playing, and he is very strong in this patch, so I understand why they banned him out. I see him definitely happening more and more.
You know, he gets picked up a lot right now, and I can certainly understand why that ban would occur. But the last picks being the Magnus and the Dragon Knight coming out from Entity. So I think the solo mids, they're gonna be trying to edge each other out, but it's not really a train smash in either respect. I mean, Magnus has a shockwave in terms of spamming out the lanes, and obviously the Breathe Fire coming out from the Dragon Knight. So in that regard, I think they should be fine. And looking at the lanes, I think what Entity does have, because it looks like they're going to be going for the Viper not going mid. If he doesn't go mid, I think they do have strong lanes, so that's something that could work in their favor. It looks like they're going to be going for a smoke rotation, and the question is, with them going for a smoke rotation, is it going to work out? And they're going to catch a few. Beavikus needs to be very wary. Beavikus in no man's land, there's a few poison attacks, but can they dodge the gank? It looks like they're going to dodge the gank because there's nothing for Entity to really get into the faces of eAe Hype.
Yeah, that was quite close, so that really was close.
The battle begins.
Yeah, that really was close. But before any action gets underway, let's introduce the lineups. Over on the Dire side for Entity, we've got Skulderbog playing that off-lane Viper, and over on that Shadow Shaman, we've got Beast, and it looks like over on the mid lane it's going to be County playing that Dragon Knight, and it looks like on the tri lane we're gonna have Squish 91 playing up that Wraith King, and the Wraith King with a bucket over his head, and it looks like Singular's going to be playing that Bane Elemental. Pretty much a standard tri lane coming out from the Entity side.
And over on the side of eAe Hype, we've got Deadman ZA playing that solo off-lane Centaur. He should be okay in this lane, actually. I don't think they quite have enough damage just to bring him down. We have Super playing that Mag mid. On the tri-lane bot, we've got Jones farming it up on the Terrorblade, being supported by Beavikus on the Pugna and Noob Cake on the Ogre Magi.
I look at the lanes right now, and I have to kind of question the decision to place the Viper on the off lane, because I think the one reason why you usually pick up the Viper, or at least the more common reason to pick up a Viper, is that you pick him so that he wins his lane, and putting him on the off lane kind of offsets that from the get-go. He's not really going to be getting too much in that lane. I mean, he's probably going to get his levels up, which is going to be, I guess, admirable in that sense. But Viper needs to be a factor around the map. So he's not going to be getting that early mech. He's not going to be getting early fighting items because you put him on that lane. And over on the mid lane, I guess, putting the Dragon Knight over in the mid lane, I guess in that regard, you're going to get something in the way of your push once he gets that his level 6 up. But I don't think it's gonna be key in the mid game as opposed to what eAe Hype have, because you look at what they have. They have a Magnus who's going to be getting his team fighting skills up much earlier.
Oh, there's going to be contention for the top rune.
Oh, looks like what a skewer
but he
going
grabs
in. He grabs it, and there goes a shockwave. He might be looking to go onto Bounty, but onto Beast, but he should be fine. Yeah, I look at what eAe Hype, and it's gonna be scary if Entity don't somehow put a kink in the cogs, because you look at their lanes. They've got a dominant lane over on that tri lane, and you look at Jones. Jones is farming up a storm, sitting at 9 for 4 over on the CS chart, and then you look at Deadman. As you mentioned, Deadman, for an offlaner, he's actually getting a decent amount. I mean, he's sitting at 4 for 1, which for an offlaner is as much as the one can hope for.
Could be a bit of trouble for Noob Cake, but nah, he should be alright.
Yeah, he should be fine. Although that's
that tankiness we were mentioning.
Yep, he is rather tanky, and he should be fine. I mean, my big worry for that Viper is that he's not going to get much. It looks like they're going to go onto him. There goes the Nether Blast. Are they going to get anything more? They have a few right clicks as well. Can they get anything? And there goes the last. Yes. They're coming out from Beavercus, and that is first blood. And that is the start that I was worrying about for the Viper, because putting a Viper on the off lane, he doesn't have easy escape mechanisms in that sense, and it looks like they're going to be looking to go for a D-ward.
Deadman's going on Beast.
Can he get Beast? I wonder if he can get anything
Deadman
further.
could actually make something of this.
And there goes the Stomp as well. Can we have a double edge? He gets hexed up. If he does have the double edge, and there goes a kill. Another kill going the way of eAe Hype. Now he should be fine. He should be fine. All they have is the Wraith Eye Blast. And you look at the singular Bane. Bane is very far off in terms of trying to get anything further. So Deadman should be fine, and he's getting a lot out of this lane, and that's actually a big worry for the Entity side, because it looks like over on the mid lane as well, it looks like County might be in a world of trouble. A few right clicks, it looks like they did get off the skewer going off, taking that kill. Actually, Pugna getting the kill over on that beef, because, and once again,
that was Pugna's DD damage rune, the right click last hit.
It's kind of looking shaky already from the get-go. I think from the get-go, the laning phase is falling apart for Entity, and it's down to their laning decisions. I mean, you put a Viper on the off lane. That means you're not getting the strength of his laning potential in the mid lane or in a tri lane situation where potentially he could be getting you some kills. And then on the flip side, you put what I guess is a solid tri lane up against a Centaur Warrior who's going to be tanky as hell right now. And the big problem is they have a Shadow Shaman, they have the Bane Elemental. I'm not entirely sure the Bane comboing up with the Shadow Shaman was the best pick going into the drafting phase, because that pick, those two picks together, I don't think the synergy is there in terms of getting both disables and a decent amount of damage done fast. But nonetheless, you look at the Centaur Warrior. We're 5 minutes in, an offlane Centaur is sitting at level 6. That is not a situation you want to be going up against at all. And
yeah, he's got his tranquil boots already.
He's got his tranquil boots already, and you look at Skilderbox. Skilderbox sitting at level 4 over on his Viper, so he's not doing the best much. And it looks like we've got a Fire Blast as well and an Ignite going on onto him, but it looks like he's way too far for them to get anything further in terms of trying to get a kill. So he'll be fine off of that, but they've pretty much put the fear of God into him, and he can't really do anything. And the Magnus Super on that Magnus is soon going to be trying to make sure that he gets his Blink Dagger soon. And once that Blink Dagger is a factor into this game, I don't think eAe I don't think eAe Hype can be stopped in terms of the momentum that they have with their lineup, and they're already putting some key damage onto that tier 1. I don't know, man. If you're in NTC's in entity shoes, and it looks like both Singular and Skill the Book are going to be in a world of trouble. Can they get anything? Illusions going out. It looks like we got a Nightmare actually being committed onto one of the Jones illusions, but Jones needs to back off because he's getting some tower aggro right now, and a few poison attacks going out into Beavercus, and Beavercus needs to be very wary now. It looks like we got a Fire Blast going on onto Skill the Book, but he should be fine.
Very back and forward. What's interesting though is this mid matchup is how well Super is doing against Entity. Against
He's
Counter.
destroying that
He's
lane.
doing
Actually.
very well.
He's destroying that lane. It's
the early bottle is helping a lot.
yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, County only picked up his bottle a little bit later, so that early bottle is helping, so he can spam that shockwave. But he's doing very well in this mid lane. I don't know though. I kind of find Entity's late game a little better, just because they've got that extra core
over on
in
the top lane. There goes the Wraithfire Blast, the Hex as well, but they don't have enough burst damage whatsoever. And the return was doing a lot of damage coming out from onto Squish 9. I think the big problem before we get to the point of the late game, right? Right now they've gone back into dual lanes. Now, in theory,
Radiant's
you're
middle
helping out the
tower is under
Viper,
attack.
but what you're also doing is you're giving a lot of free reign to Deadman on the Centaur, and that's not something you want to do, because soon enough that Blink Dagger is going to be a factor, and how you're supposed to be stopping these guys. Once I've got a
Action
Stampede
top,
going
action
out,
top.
there goes your Shockwave. They proc out the first life of that Wraith King, and looks like the RP even being committed. There goes a Skewer as well, and he should be down for the count. Can they get anything? There goes a Hex over to Deadman, and Deadman takes a spill, and it looks like they also do get the kill onto Squish 9. So it could have been much worse. It could have been a kill for nothing whatsoever, but they do get the retaliation over onto the Centaur, and I think it's worth it, because in terms of levels, he was doing much better than
Radiant's
they
middle
were.
tower is under attack.
No, I think it's worth it for eAe Hype in terms of that's their hard carry, that's their core this game.
Yeah.
And that brings Magnus just one step closer to his blink.
Yeah, that is quite true. That Magnus he's actually getting a very, very fast blink. Granted, he is not going for the first item, Arcane Boots, but I look at the way the lanes are turning out right now.
Dire's
eAe Hype
top
is pretty much
tower is
winning
under
all three
attack.
of their lanes, and with them winning all three of their lanes, I worry about Entity in terms of what they can do to get back. And it looks like Skilderborg needs to be very wary of how aggressive he's getting, but I worry about Entity being able to deal with the lineup coming out from eAe Hype, because eAe Hype looks like over on the top lane actually they took down the Wraith King once again, and this is a solo Deadman Centaur. How are they supposed to deal with the mid game? And it looks like he's going to be going on to Beast. He does try to get the stomp off, but it just misses off. And it looks like we got a Stampede going on, and Skilderborg taking another death. Skilderborg, this Viper's not having a very good day whatsoever. He's definitely not having a very good day. And they lose the
Carry
tower as
partner
well.
for the win.
And they lose the tower for their troubles, and that's a big problem, because if they lose territory on a lineup that doesn't really do well in the mid game in terms of trying to quell team fights, then they've got a big problem. Because you look at the lineup coming out from eAe Hype, they have easy access to initiation. They have the Centaur Orena, they have the Magnus, so the initiation is there in the dozens. And then on top of the initiation potential that they do have, the other big problem is Entity doesn't have much in the way of disengage. The only real disengage is that they have somewhat a tanky lineup, but it's not really mattering in that sense. It looks like we've got a Skewer coming up, even the RP being committed. It looks like County's in a world of trouble. There goes the Dragon stun, and looks like the Decrepify as well going out to County. Can he get away?
If he can land the skewer.
Oh, there goes the blink, there goes the shockwave, and that's a dead Dragon Knight. And he committed the Elder Dragon form as well. So that's a huge win for eAe Hype, and they'll be looking to get more aggressive in terms of what they can do. And looks like they might be trying to go out onto Deadman. Deadman doesn't get aggressive. Are they going to get anything? There goes the Brain Sap, and once again, I feel like
Jones is sitting with 2.5k gold. What do you think he's going for?
I don't know. He could be going for a Crimson Guard. He could be going for
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
I don't think Crimson Guard with the Scent in that and the guys that they have, I think he's going to go more your damage items.
Yeah.
Maybe a crit, maybe a Scuddy, straight up Scuddy.
I don't know, man. They have. I mean, if they're looking for pure damage, right? If they're looking for pure right click damage, they could be looking to Jones. And I think what they'll be looking for on this into Warren is his burst capability, but the ability for him to stay in the fights and be alive. Because if I look at Entity's lineup, my worry for eAe Hype if this game drags on a little bit further is the fact that Entity do have the Dragon Knight, they do have a Viper, they do have the Wraith King. If they get some way back into the game, they will be very
You're not going to
tanky.
kill them.
And it looks like we've got an engagement over on top lane. We've got a Ray 5 Blast, Burst Catch there, man, and it looks like a Stomp, a Double Edge, and that's a dead Bane. It looks like they're gonna go in for further. They get the skewer over onto Entity. Squish 9 is actually in a world of trouble right now. Ray 5 Blast catching Super, so Super doesn't really have much to get back, but he should be taking a lot of damage. And it looks like Beast in a world of trouble as he gets life drained as well. It's a world of trouble right now. Entity falling apart. 10-for-1 right now in favor of eAe Hype. They pretty much have this game by the balls, and looks like they're looking to go in further. We got a 5 Blast catching Skilderborg, but he needs to disengage very quickly. And we've got ourselves a Blink Dagger and Arcanes. 12 minutes in for that Magnus. I don't know, good sir. If I look at the lineup right now for eAe Hype, in terms of the items they have all the items they need in terms of fighting, and Magnus right now has his RP at the ready, so I think they'll be ready to fight even with the TP rotations coming out in terms of trying to defend, and it's going to be a world of trouble if they get close. If they get that RP, looks like actually Super's going back into the lane, also over the top lane. Looks like we're gonna have a world of trouble. There goes your life drain, your Stomp, your Fire Blast, and that's a dead Viper. Once again, Viper having the worst game. Looks like we got a Shackles, but the Shackles not really doing much. And there goes your Nether Blast, and once again, Ownage. It's a dominating streak coming out for that Viper. And it looks like we've got a Fiend's Grip, but the Fiend's Grip's going to be dispelled at some point. Ray 5 Blast catching Beavercus on the backlines, and Beavercus is probably going to take a spell. They do lose the Centaur Warren as well, so it's not looking all doom and gloom coming out for Entity, but they do lose the Bane once again, and it's a 3-for-1. 3-for-1. There goes your Fire Blast, and it's a 4-for-1 right now. eAe Hype,
they carry
in a commanding lead right now.
Their carry couldn't even kill the number 5. Their carry couldn't even kill the number 5, and this whole time Jones is sitting there farming. I mean, he's got his Yash up. It looks like he's definitely going Manta first. He's just been farming. He's not even needed right now.
And they lose.
Yes, okay.
Okay, here's the one thing that they do have. They do have some form of pushing potential, although on the flip side, you have to remember, and this is to go back to a point that you mentioned, in terms of fighting, Entity do have a very decent late game, but my worry is eAe Hype has a more diverse way of going about the game, going into the mid and late stages of the game, because if they do feel that they don't have the team fights, they can go for pushing. I mean, they do have a Terrorblade, and Terrorblade kind of plays like the Naga Siren, and it looks like he's going for a Yasha, and soon enough it could be
Manta.
It could be his segue into the Manta style, and with that it tells me that Jones could possibly be.
It's definitely Manta. The ultimate orb's already on the way from the courier.
Yeah. Okay. It looks like we're gearing up for another engagement, and if they do get the team fight win, I think Entity right now will have to be looking at their game being over. And it looks like Skilderborg being stomped up, a multi-cast Fire Blast as well. And there goes an RP. The RP catching two, and County's in a world of trouble. Singular's in a world of trouble. The Fiend's Grip being committed over onto Jones, but it's mean nothing whatsoever right now. And we've got a double kill coming out from Noob Cake. Noob Cake on that Ogre Magi, dealing a lot of damage, and Stomp catching over onto Beast. And there goes the double edge. And once again, a 4-for-0 this time. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, this game seems to be over. There's not much that Entity
They're
can
not
do.
looking good at all.
Viper doesn't play well from behind. Dragon Knight doesn't play well from behind. Hell, Wraith King, I think, is the only one who can kind of play from behind. But at this point, you're playing up against a Magnus who's got so much momentum. You're playing against a Terrorblade who's given way too much leeway in terms of farm. I mean, he's almost got his Manta style, and that's going to be very worrisome in terms of the amount of push. And yeah, look at Noob Cake. Noob Cake over on his Ogre Magi. This is a support Ogre Magi, and I don't know what they can do. It looks like Blink Stomp, double edge, and once again, Deadman taking down Beast. And looks like we got a multicast Fire Blast and the reincarnation going on, and looks like Squish 91's definitely in a world of trouble. Can he get away? He's definitely not get away, and he's definitely down for the count as a Shockwave takes him down. I don't think there's anything further they can do. This game is almost over, folks. 20 for 2, 16 minutes in, there goes a Fire Blast, County in a world of trouble, there goes the Brace Up, Deadman might be actually in a world of trouble, we've got there goes the Nightmare and the Viper Strike as well. Jones being committed onto the shackles as well, and they do get some retaliation, and they do get good retaliation in the sense that they do get 2 calls coming out from eAe Hype, one of them being the Centaur and the other being the Key Farmer from eAe Hype. But they once again, they give up more kills coming out from Entity, and I still think it's not enough. It's not enough. I mean, we're 17 minutes in. Look at the goal graph. Look at the goal graph right now. 12k in favor of eAe Hype.
I'm too scared to.
And the XP graph right now inching toward the 7.5 mark. It's actually at 7.5.
Ooh, action top again though.
Looks like they might be looking to go on to County. As it stands right now, we've got a Stampede going out. Are they going to do anything?
Nah, they're just going out. Nah, they're leaving. Wisely so. There was only 2 of them there.
Yeah. At this point, if I'm the captain for Entity, right, I have to be thinking, how does my team get back into this? Because we picked a lineup that essentially, this is a lineup that's supposed to gear up in the mid game, in the sense that Wraith King scales very well going into the mid game. He's one of the carries you can in the mid game. You can count on him to be able to farm. Viper, pretty much the same deal, but they put the Viper on the offlane, which means he doesn't get any momentum. And they had a Shadow Shaman who arguably isn't really that great in this lineup, especially because of how they have their lineup. And looks like we've got a Blink Skewer over in the mid lane, and Fire Blast once again, and that's a very, very dead Skilderborg. And Skilderborg, the way he's melting, you would definitely say it's a lie that Viper is a tanky hero, considering what eAe Hype is doing to this hero. And I look at his score, he's had one of the worst games a Viper could have, sitting at 152 over on his kill score, and that is certainly not what a Viper needs to go. And I kind of put it down to them putting him on the offlane. I think that was a bad decision coming out from Entity, and them picking, and it looks like actually they're going to take down once again. Jones actually takes a spill with the Fiend's Grip being committed onto him. And I think he got a little bit overzealous.
The thing is, with their draft, who else could they actually put in that? With their draft, who else could they put in their offlane?
I think
the draft didn't really allow for.
I look at their draft and I think perhaps, looks like over in top lane they're looking to go on a Squish 91, and Squish 91 actually in a world of trouble. But there goes the Ray Fire Blast, there goes the Ignite, there goes the RP, and the damage coming out from eAe Hype was way too much. The Stampede going on. The Viper Strike did deal a lot of damage for Super. So Super's in a world of trouble. He does take down as the last tower shot hits him down. But it's a 2-for-1 engagement going the way of eAe Hype right now, and they're pretty much overrunning the Entity lineup. But to go back to your point right now, in terms of their draft, I think it would have been the wiser decision, because the way they drafted this, they couldn't stop the Centaur from farming, they couldn't do anything to stop the Terrorblade from farming, and their cause was suffering heavily, and they're losing towers left, right, and center. I think with their lineup, if we're going with the same lineup, I think it would have been a safer bet to go for an aggressive trialing. And I mean, it's not the most ideal situation, but at the very least, they have 2 disables going the way of the Bane, going the way, actually 3 disables. Ooh, 60.75 win rate for a Terrorblade with Manta. Oof. And this is the patch for Terrorblade.
That's quite scary.
That's quite scary. And you have to consider how quickly he got it, because of how much leeway he got. And over in the mid lane, it looks like County's in a world of trouble. We've got an Invis Deadman over on that Centaur, and he's gonna get the stomp off. There goes the multicast Fire Blast and the blink. There goes your life drain as well, and that's a dead County. I don't know, man. They've fallen apart at the seams from the get-go. Like I said, man, I think they should have gone for the aggressive.
I don't think there's much more they can do here.
There's not much they can do. Because you look at the net worth.
There's much more they can do.
Look at the net worth.
Much more they can do.
No, this game has fallen apart. And it looks like they're about to go in. There goes the blink. There goes the stop. There goes the double H. Viper Strike going over onto Dipsa, but he doesn't really do anything in terms of the way of damage. It looks like more damage coming out the shockwave. It's a monster kill. Streak for Noob Cake. That Ogre Magi putting in so much work. He's almost halfway. He's actually halfway into building up his ag scepter, because you look at the amount of gold he's amassed. He's actually among the top 3 farmers right now, sitting at 7.2. I don't know what Entity can do. Entity, I think they should be thinking about the GG calls at this point. And I think it's pretty much their last game of. It's their last game of the tournament. There's not much they can do. I guess they'll be probably looking to stay it out. And there goes the blink skewer, catching out Squish 91, and some damage going out. There goes your Dragon Tail as well, but that's not going to do anything. The amount of damage going the way of Squish 99 right now. He takes a spill once again to that Terror Blade. The Terror Blade being a terror, as his name does. And now they disjoint their spells. Miscommunication coming out from Entity. Both the shackles and the Nightmare being committed over onto that Terror Blade. And there's not much they can do. There's not much they can do. I mean, you look at their cores. Their cores barely have any items.
I think it's getting past the point where it's not much to
nothing.
There's nothing they can do.
Yep, it's at that point. It's at that point. At pretty much right now, they're bleeding slowly. They're bleeding out, and they're bleeding heavily. This is death in a thousand cuts, man. There's not much. There's nothing they can do. At this point, this game is over, because they can't push with the Shadow Shaman they have, which is kind of why you pick the Shadow Shaman, because you have to also remember that 6.81. 6.81 was the patch for Shadow Shaman, but right now they can't do anything.
Yeah, generally speaking, the push in general is no longer legit, you know, and that was Shadow Shaman's strength in the first patch, is how strong his push was. You know, you couple him with one of the push and it's GG, you know.
Yeah.
2-man RP, 3-man skewer.
And that is a stampede going out. Monster kill streak for Beavercus. And I don't know, man. I don't know, at this point there's not much that can be done. A Fiend Script being destroyed from the get-go with a death. And the double edge going out. It looks like we've got a shockwave that's also catching County.
I'm calling this GG.
Yeah, no, it's this game's done.
There's nothing that they can do. I mean, this is just too out of hand. You have a 20k net worth difference, you have a nearly 20k XP difference, and it's only 24 minutes in. I mean, this is a patch where games normally go an hour long. You got that difference, there's nothing you can do.
Yep, I honestly, at this point, there's nothing they can do. Looking at the buyback status, buybacks really don't matter at this point because of how underleveled the heroes coming out from Entity
Have you seen the net worth of the heroes? Have you seen the not the overall net worth for each hero?
Yep.
When your number 5 is more farmed than the other team's number 1. Yeah, that's pretty as GG as it can get, you know.
Yeah, man. All 5 heroes coming out from eAe Hype are more farmed than all 5 heroes coming out from Entity. So, in that sense, what does Entity do? And we got and Pete, there goes a skewer as well. Catching Singula's in a world of trouble. Eats a storm, and he's definitely taking the spell. Skillerbook might be in a world of trouble as well. What can Squish 91 really do right now? He's going to try for a Wraith 5 boss, but the pipe has been committed as well, so no magic damage going out. There goes the stomp as well. Life drain, Squish 91. Props the reincarnation. Deadman's having to deal with the Viper Strike as well. And he does take a spell. There goes a 3-man RP. And there goes the Skewer as well. Skewer catching 4. And a lot of damage coming out from eAe. They actually lose 2. They lose 3 as well. Could this be the turnaround? And they're about to get a kill onto Squish 91. Squish 91 in a world of trouble. BKB Jones going out in stride. So it's a 3 for 3. And they lose another set of wrecks. And folks, this game is over.
Dire's middle barracks are under attack.
There's nothing they can do to come back from this. Take nothing away from Entity. I've seen these guys play amazing games before. I just don't think their draft was the best. And like I said, that Viper offlane, I don't know. I just don't think it was the best draft ever, you know.
Yeah, not even remotely. Okay, I have to ask you. Whoa, whoa. Oh, he actually.
You're not going to kill Jones,
Dyer's
no.
middle barracks
You're not
are
killing
under
Jones.
attack.
Hell, you're not even killing New Cake right now. If you had to look at the game right now, where would you say it all went wrong?
The draft. The draft in the solo lane Viper.
Yeah, that solo lane draft. I think, ideally speaking, their lanes were kind of doomed from the start, but they put the Viper in the off lane. Then, like I said, with the draft that they have, which isn't ideal in the sense that you have a Shadow Shaman being coupled with a Bane Elemental. I don't think this team excelled at any facet of what they were meant to do. But potentially they could have gone for an aggressive trialing, which may have not been ideal, but it could have given the Viper space to farm. And there goes the RP catching onto 2, and there goes the skewer catching onto 4, and the amount of damage, folks.
Save. I actually feel bad for NC just
Mega
not wanting
creeps.
to call this.
Mega creeps.
They
I understand it. They know
don't want
it's their last
the
game.
arena to end.
It's their last game, man. It's their last game.
Oh!
Dyer's middle tower is under attack.
Especially managing to
Dyer's
survive there.
structures are fortified.
Just stopping the full 5-man team up.
Okay, considering this game is pretty much done and dusted, I just wanna direct our viewers to the arena tournament
Dyer's middle tower.
info
Dyer's
feed.
middle
If you
tower
guys wanna
has
follow
fallen.
the arena Lifechild Invitational,
Dyer's
just head on
ancient
over
is
to the
under
arena.co.za website, and you can follow them on Facebook as well. They've got an Orena SA page as well.
Dyer's ancient is
This
under
tournament
attack.
has a pretty sizable.
Radiant
They have a pretty
victory.
sizable prize pool being split up between their Dota 2 and their CS:GO tournaments. 75k being split up between those two. It's a pretty sizable amount of cash. But nonetheless, eAe Hype taking a very convincing victory, tearing apart Entity from the laning phase to the mid game to what could have been the late game, but didn't happen. They didn't even allow Entity to get to that point. But nonetheless, I don't know. What are your closing thoughts on this game? Because I think it fell apart in the laning phase, it fell apart in the drafting, and the play as well. It just wasn't up to par.
Yeah, Hype was definitely the better team. Like I said, NT, I think the biggest problem came in the lanes. I mean, they had an upward battle straight from the beginning. But Hype did really well. NT got a long way to go. I think they're a relatively new team. I think they can only go up from here,
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's the end of their arena for this Lifechild tournament. Like I said, arena, the finals will actually be held in Cape Town. So teams that make it through to the finals will actually have to go down to Cape Town to have a LAN, and that's where the winner of this arena tournament will be decided. So far we've been watching some amazing games, and it just goes to show how great the South African scene is, and with the tournaments like this arena, it only proves to strengthen it even further.
Indeed, good sir. Indeed, that is the case. And nonetheless, I had a good time. This is actually the last game of the evening. Look forward to more games coming through on Thursday, the 23rd, which is actually tomorrow. We'll actually be starting off with the playoff brackets. We'll see which
Best
teams.
of 3.
Yep, best of 3. So the teams that will be playing in that round will actually have a decent opportunity to make it forward in their dreams of getting to that LAN final over at Cape Town. But nonetheless, I'm Saint D from eAe Gaming, and this was Insanity from eAe Gaming. Follow us on eAe Gaming on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at eAe Gaming, follow us on YouTube as well, where we will have a lot of these VODs up, and we will be following the tournament. We will be bringing you some of the action live, so do follow us for more info.
Alternatively, just check on our website, which is eaegaming.co.za.
Yep. But nonetheless, folks, that's a wrap for the evening. I hope you had a good time, and tune in tomorrow when we bring you more action live. Cheers, good guys.
Cheers, thanks a lot.